Working on our schedule app. If we run our application, let's make sure we're all in the same state here. So I run my app. Andy, you still eating? I thought I ate a lot. I'm telling you. All right, here we have our schedule app. If we click on our add button, it brings up a modal presentation view. Here we're able to add in some event name. For example, let's see if this guy gets Facebook. Oh, there we go. That's Facebook company. So here we create an event. It's oh, yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. So Luba says Facebook is all lowercase. So I'm sorry, Facebook. So here we have Facebook, and we're going Facebook tomorrow. Right? I click on return. When I click on the return key, I want my event to get created, and I want to segue back to my first view controller and add it to the table view. A lot of steps, a lot of things to do. But that's what I want to do. When I click on return, create the event, unwind segue, add that event to my table view. That's what I want to do. Okay, that's what we'll do together. So when I click on return key works right now, but in our return, in our text should return. If we go to our create event controller, make sure you're in your create event controller, where we have text fields should return. We are not doing anything right now, but just dismiss the keyboard. We have more work to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the work. The add new event function. It's pretty much empty for now. This is where we left. We'll come back to it. Eric, we'll come back to it because we have more code to do there.
I was just making sure I'm up to date.
Okay, Cassandra?
Didn't we make a button that says create new event?
Yes.
So why are we putting this on the return?
To add,
We haven't actually physically created an event. Right? An event is the event object. We haven't created an event object. Right? Cassandra, back in our create event view controller, when we click on the return key, there's no place here we have an event getting created.
I know, but when we click return, it dismisses the keyboard, and then we click the button create new event.
Uh-huh.
It segues back.
Yes. It segues back now, correct? It does, right? But there's no event yet to get. So that's what we need to work on. Okay, very good. Any other questions? Yes?
Yes, so technically, so we have the action, but the action is
Connected to the unwind segue.
but it's connected to the unwind as opposed to being connected to the ready button action.
Exactly.
Because it's still the button's action, it will still be able to do whatever we put in the code. Those not connected to this.
With that particular button, we won't have any action for it.
Okay.
The only action for it is the unwind segue part of it. It's the one that takes us back to the first view.
The segue that's going to take the code.
Yes. Back in our first view controller, we'll use the segue to get the event.
So the button really has no, so the button is not really a button. The button just kind of like.
It's an action to unwind.
Gotcha.
Very good. All right, so let's see what we have here. We have the event text field, which we need because we need to get the text that the user entered. We do not have access to the date picker yet. We need access to the date picker. So our date picker, we need to see what event, what date the user selected. Everybody with me? So I need access to the date picker. So we'll connect that. So date picker is a UI date picker. Date picker is a UI date picker. What's that, hot chocolate? Just checking. So UI date picker here, we have a date picker, great. So when the user, we need an action for the date picker. We need an action for the date picker. So when the user changes the date picker, we want to take that date and add it to our event. Everybody with me? Very similar to what we did in our date picker project. So on our date picker, we'll create an action here. We'll say date picker changed.
Yeah, we're in
I'm in the create event view controller.
I was in the schedule list.
I'm in the create event. So here we have date picker changed, and date picker changed, I'll just put in sender here, and I will say UI date picker. Great. Okay, so let's get an event. So we don't have an event yet. We need a public event. So here we'll have an event. So this is the event that we need to get back in our unwind segue action. Everybody with me? This is the event that the user created. So whenever the user changes the date of the event, we want to update our event date. So event date gets sender.date. Right? Again, anytime the user changes the picker, we update our event's date. Everybody? Okay? So far we've created an event. We have a date picker changed action which we need to connect. We need to connect this action to our storyboard, and we need to connect that date picker to our storyboard as well. Yes, sir?
Are we not going to make a label?
Do we have a label? No, we don't have a label. We had a label in our last project with the RSVP label. We have no label here. We only have 3 UI elements. We have the date picker, we have the text label, the text field, and we have the button.
All right, yeah, I'm done.
You're trying to go ahead, you said?
Yeah.
If you want to go ahead.
No.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's keep going here. So when the user clicks on text field should return. When the user clicks on text field should return, we'll take in the text the user entered and add that as the name of the event. Right, so right here, we'll say update name of event, and here we'll say update date of event, right? So only 2 properties our event has. Our event has a date, which is controlled by the date picker. Our event has a name, which we get from the text field. Yulia? Whose series called Yulia? Okay. All right, cool. So update event, what does that look like? We'll say event.name equal to text field.text. Where am I? Text field. It wants us to unwrap it. We'll put some default value in there. No event name. So this is all we need to do as far as like creating the event or updating our event, right? So event date from the date picker and event name from the text field. Yes?
We can put the event question mark because we know that it's definitely coming from the other page.
This one is not coming from the other page, right? This one is the second page. This one is on the create event.
So why do we have the question mark?
We initialized it to nil. So the default value is nil here. We could just create an empty event. We could do that, right? So we could also do, instead of saying event nil, we could do event date is our current date, and name is no name, for example. That's not confusing. This is...
No, it's because when we first started, I didn't know what to put for things that weren't regular types, like strings.
Okay, got it. No, that's fine. So we could do it both ways, right? So here we have an event, we have the date, we have the name. Great. Let's continue on.
Are we also going to have a create event when I press ID action?
No, we don't need one because all what that button does is it unwinds. All right, let's connect our actions. Let's go ahead and connect our actions and our outlets. Go to storyboard. Go to storyboard. And let's get access to our create event view controller. And let's wire it up. This is not what I want, sir. I want my create event. Okay, so make sure it's your create event controller. And we want to connect our date picker to the date picker. Connect the date picker to our date picker. Connect our date picker function to the date picker in storyboard. Next, we want to connect, what else we have here? Next, we want to connect our date picker outlet to our date picker. Date picker outlet to our date picker. We connected our text field, that's good. That's about it. What else do we have? Did we connect our table view? Did we connect our table view yet? Table view for our schedule list. Is that connected? Make sure your table view is connected. Connect your table view, your schedule list controller. The schedule list controller. The schedule list controller. Make sure your table view is connected to your storyboard. What's that, Julia? It's connected, right? Make sure it's connected. So make sure your table view is connected to the correct view controller.
Can you scroll down a little bit?
With inside the schedule list controller.
Yeah.
To the add new event.
Yeah.
We're not done. We're not done with the add new event. We have more code to write.
No, but I'm getting an error there, and I'm not sure why, because it says segue, and I have segue. I just want to see who's doing this.
I would comment it out now, and then when we come back to it, we'll do it together. All right? How are we doing? Do we connect all our outlets and our actions? Okay, so to verify, make sure your create event, make sure your date picker is connected. Right? Make sure your date picker is connected. Make sure your date picker change function is connected. Why do we need access to the date picker? We want to set a minimum date. We want to set a minimum date in our viewed load for the date picker.
Where are we connecting the date picker change? To which
To our create event controller. Oscar?
oh, the date picker?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right? When the user changes the date, I want to update my event date.
Did we change our date to a date instead of a string?
Is this something else?
It is a date. On event, on the event object, it is a date.
Alright, so it's alright.
Yeah, it started out with a date. It's not a string, no. What's the next question?
The IBA action that says add new event, where's that?
That's in the, where is it being used? That's the on-wind segue. We connected it earlier with the exit icon,
With the exit icon. Okay.
where we had the create event button connected to the exit icon in storyboard. That's how we created the on-wind segue, remember? Tanya, when we went to storyboard earlier, we control drag from the create event up to the exit icon,
Okay.
and we connected the segue action.
And then, okay.
Right, that's where the connection is. So it doesn't show you a physical connection,
Yes.
but it is connected.
So
All right.
only what we connected to is create event button, it's just that
Unwind segue, exactly, exactly. Okay, cool. So far, so good. Let us exit out of here and go to our create event. What's your question, Tiffany?
I was figuring that, is it that we have to go back to the function that we started?
Yeah, we have to go back to add new event to finish up our code. Okay? All right. Everybody ready to go back to our schedule list controller? All right, let's go back to the schedule list controller. Now I'm in the schedule list controller. I'm in the add new event of my schedule list controller. Here I have my create event controller. I have access to it. Okay? Next, I also need access to the event. So after your create event controller here on line 26, after your create event controller on line 26 for me, a different line for you, make sure you're in your add new event function. Everybody? Are you in your add new event function? Yulia? Okay, so I want to put a comma after my create new event controller. I'll put a comma, I'll put a new line. I'll say let created event equal to create view controller, not this guy. Create event view, create event controller. Dot event. I want to unwrap my event, right? On my controller, I want to unwrap the event. This is why I'm chaining this let created event here, because my create event controller has a public event which we have. Everybody? On the create event controller, let's see what it is. I want to get access to this event. And it's an optional. So I'm unwrapping it. Yes, question in the back.
But are you specifically have it in camel cases so it won't be confused with the...
Well, not only camel cases, but it's lowercase.
Yeah.
Remember back in Unit 1, we said an instance is a lowercase, a variable.
Oh, okay, so that's my confusion was, like, I see that that's what we named it, but we named it after the, okay, gotcha.
Okay.
When did you declare the create event controller instance?
Well, this returns us a reference, an instance to the one we were coming back from.
Also the same one.
Yeah. Right? That's why we access it via segue.source. That's where we're coming from. All right, cool.
Wait,
Yes.
I was not paying attention like 2 seconds just now. Were you saying, what did you just ask? Because I feel like I had a question on that. The segue thing? Did you change the segue name? Because, like, that's...
No, I haven't done anything with this segue.
No, I mean at the top part of it.
This guy?
Yeah.
No, we haven't touched that.
But it didn't say segue, and I had sender, and then it was giving me an
We
error.
had segue earlier. We never had sender for this one. Yes, Matt first, then Amini.
I am having trouble making the second.
The second, the comma here. So you have a comma after your create event controller.
No, the create event controller in white text is like created in the first part of the guardlet, and when I'm typing in after the comma, it's not appearing.
It doesn't appear. It's it doesn't come up with code completion. Make sure you type out the same lowercase create event controller
That's what I think. Yeah.
and do that event.
But doesn't see it does the same there.
They're the same. They're the same. They're the same thing. You mean those two?
Oh,
Those two, they're the same.
it just doesn't auto.
Yeah, it doesn't autocomplete when you.
But they don't highlight.
It's not
That's
supposed
the one.
It's you mean like what the created event is there?
No, it's the lowercase,
The lowercase one is not going to highlight. It's a local variable.
but it's the same thing.
This is the type.
No, the guardlet.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's the same one. Those two are the same.
They do highlight.
Those two are the same. The first one I unwrapped, right? And I have access to it. If it exists, on it, I say get me your event. Okay? Any other questions before we move on? Yes.
So I'm typing out the created event and created event equals or assigned to created event controller dot event. My dot event is not letting
Make sure it's lowercase create event controller. Okay. We continuing on?
Yes.
Okay. We see guards everywhere, right? Like if you feel uncomfortable with guards, use more guards. If you feel more uncomfortable with guards, use more guards still. All right. The guard is able to unwrap this value. It's able to unwrap my created event controller. If it does exist, I have access to the same variable that I unwrapped. And on that variable, I say, get me your event, which is an optional, right? It's an optional here. This is an optional. If it exists, I get my created event. So remember back in Unit 1, the only way I get to line 30 if both values exist. Remember back in Unit 1, right? When we spoke about optionals, right? So even if let, right? You chain them up. It only goes into that statement if all the values in the commas exist. Okay? All right, so here everything exists. Great, great, great. We have an event. What do we want to do here with the event? So that event, we want to insert it into our events. So insert into our events array. It's up to us at this point if we want to insert the event at the top of the table view or at the bottom of the table view, right? Either I want to insert at the top where a new event is always at the top, or a new event is at the bottom. Everybody with me? So here it's up to us where we want to insert it. I will say events, our events array. Yes, sir?
Can it be entered chronologically?
You mean as created, or
Like if the date is-
we could sort it by date. We could sort it by date, yes. So here I'll say events insert. I want to insert the event.
Events array?
We have an events array.
I know where. Was that the same one that event is supposed to be?
We started off with the events array on line 16.
So we have event with the first.
Are you in the schedule list controller?
I'm in the schedule list controller.
Okay, so we don't have an event in the schedule list controller. We have an array of events. That's our table view.
Okay, so we had two. We had event and events.
Not in the schedule list controller.
We had two though, events and events. We had two, right?
Event is a type.
At the very end.
In our schedule list controller, this is where our table view is, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, the only data we're concerned with that table view there is an array of events. Okay? In the create event controller, we have one event variable. One event in the create event controller. Okay, everybody? Right? Okay, cool. All right, cool. So let's continue on. So here we say events.insert. What I'm inserting the created event. Not up here. Down here, I'm inserting the created event at index 0. At index 0 implies top of table view. Use of unresolved. What do we have? Where's my events? You made me remove my events, madam.
I did.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. It actually just disappeared. All right, it's back. So here we have our events, and we say we add in a created event, and we say in add 0, which is the top of the table view. We'll continue on. It's going to be at the top of my array. I put it in index 0. I'll show us how to do it at the top of the table view next. Okay, so we're not done yet, sorry. So top of my events array for now. And let's create an index path, and then I'll show you about the top of the table view. So next, let's create an index path here. So create an index path. Create an index path to be inserted into the table view. We'll create an index path. We'll call it index path. And an index path takes in a row and a section, right? It takes in a row and a section. The row will be 0. The section will be 0. Row is 0, section is 0. We do not have any sections in our table view. No sections. No array of arrays. And the row signifies which row in the section. So in our case, this is index path will be at the top of the table view. Everybody with me? This index path will be at the top of the table view. Represents the top of the table view. Or will represent top of table view. Okay, so we inserted our events, inserted new event into our events array. We did that here. And next up, we say create an index path. And now we are going to use that index path. Use index path to insert into table view. And on our table view, which we have access to, there's a method on it called insert. There's a method on our table view called insert rows. Insert rows. What does rows take? Index path, right? Is it just an index path? What is it? An array of index paths, right? You could insert many things, many index paths. So it takes an array, not just one. But in our case, we only insert in one at a time. Everybody with me? But know that you could have many events and insert them at once. Okay? So it takes an array of index paths. So we have to pass it an array of index paths. So insert rows, open square bracket, that's an array, and we pass in the index path that we created. So this is why we created the index path. We created an index path on line 35 in order to insert it into our table view. And next, it asks for some animation. We'll simply just say automatic. For the animation, use automatic animation. So this is enough actually to test out our code. There's a bunch of stuff we did here. So add new event gets called from unwind segue, right? So the user clicks on the create event button. They pass in an event. We insert the event into our array at index 0. We create an index path. That index path is used on our table view to insert that index path into the table view. Okay? How are we doing with code? Did we finish type? We finished typing? Okay. So let's give it a shot. Let's run it. Let's click on our add button to go create a new event. Let's create a new event. Luba says she's going to study when she gets home. We click on create event, and we get a crash because failed to access create event controller. Okay. What's happening here? Something is nil. Let's see. So let's wait here for a second and let's debug this code together. Let's see what object is nil. So if we go to, we could actually PO here. So if your app crashed, right? We could PO together and use the debugger to see what the error is. So this is one of the use cases you have to know how to use yourself. So let's see what is nil. Something is nil, something crashed, right? Let's see what's nil. So PO created, do we have access? I don't think we have access to it. Yeah, create event controller. We might not have access to. We don't have access to it right now. Let's see, 1 second. Let's go back to our view. Let's go back to our create event controller here. Let's go back to our event controller. I think we have one more thing to do here. Because this object, let's take a look at this object. Go back to your create event controller. Event is nil, right? We say here default value is nil. Everybody with me? There's no place we created an event, meaning there's no place we instantiated an event. So we came here, we said it's nil, go ahead and set the date. The object is still nil here, right? Event is still nil. Let's see what it looks like. I'll actually run it and myself and show us why it's nil. So I'll put a breakpoint at line 38 in my text field should return. You don't need to do that. Just follow what I'm doing. I'll run my app. I'll go to create event. I'll add some event here. I'll click on return. At this point, I'll make a PO and see what my event is. Or I could simply use the debugger here, the debugger window. Please pay attention here, because we'll come to those scenarios, like why is my object nil? So I come to the debugger, I click on the self variable here, and look, event is nil. So that's the problem. Event is nil, we try to set a nil object, we return a nil object, that event is nil, our app crashes on our fatal error. This part here is important. When the app crashes, you need to figure out what's going on, right? Not every time we do some app, everything goes correctly, right? That's the point where we're like, oh my God, it's not working. That's not what you do. You use the debugger, you put a breakpoint and see your object. What is your object's value? That's where the breakpoint comes in. So right now, what we have to do in our viewDid load, we'll instantiate our event in viewDid load. We'll instantiate our event with some default value, okay? And that's going to fix that particular error. Please, 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 this is more important than seeing the actual code working. When it breaks, what do I do? Right? When it breaks, what do I do? Where do I go? Put a breakpoint where your event is getting set. Go to the debugger, see what the event value is. Here we saw the red flag, it's nil. Right? It's nil, it goes to my unwind segue. I try to unwrap it, fatal error. Because created event is nil. So it crashes. Remember, everything needs to have a valid value in order for us to pass the guard statement. Everybody with me?
How did you know to look at the event?
Because that's where we only set an event two places. We set it with the date picker, and we set it when we click on return.
But I mean, you didn't see it from the error.
No, the error just says fatal error. One of those things are nil. We know one of them are nil. No matter what, one of those values are nil. We know it's not a created event controller, so it might be the event. So we went to where the event was getting set. We said put a breakpoint there, see what the event value is. It's nil, it would crash. Okay? So now our job is to go give that event a default value. Okay? Again, this is actually more important than actually seeing the code run, seeing how to fix it when it breaks, right? You take a car, you drive, right? How do I fix a flat tire? Those are the days. All right, so in our viewDid load for our create event controller, let's simply instantiate a default value for event. And what we do, we simply say event gets event, our current date, today, now, and event name Okay, so we have an event here. At this point, our event is no longer nil. Everybody with me? At this point, our event is no longer nil. We could update the date. We could update the name. It won't be nil at this point. Everybody with me? So make sure you updated your event in viewDid load in the create event controller. Yes?
I understand why the name isn't empty anymore, no, but I don't understand why date is if it's just a parenthesis. That's why.
Oh, this date object here?
Yeah.
We went over that with date. Sorry, let me just go over it again. So date, this date here represents, it's a initializer. It initializes a date object with the current date, today's date.
How is it an initializer? Oh, but so how?
It creates a date object, a date instance where the date is the current date.
Okay.
Where the date is today, what's today? Today is Wednesday, November 20th, 2019, and the time is 3:51 p.m. Every time we run the code, the time is different.
Okay, so that only applicable
Yeah, if you want to create like the date now, that's what you do.
No, I mean not date, but like if it was a different.
If you do a string, it will be empty. So if I say string, for example,
That's the equivalent of an empty.
back to unit 1. So if I say like let name equal to string like that, well, it wouldn't be a let, it would be a bar. It will create an empty string for me. So it would create this. Okay? Cool? Any questions about initializers?
Not about initializers, but I still try to run it and I have an error.
Let's run it together. You going ahead doesn't help everybody. It's good, but let's go do it together. Okay, let's do it together so we could see the same error and fix it together. Cool? Yes, sir. Self for row. That's back in our list controller, right? Let's test the code first and go. I don't want to go back and forth too much. Let's test it first and go. Everybody updated the view load. Right? So let's run the code and debug it together if we have any more errors. So here we should have an event created. So here I click on my event. I add in an event that we have here. I click on create event. Next crash is what? What am I not setting? What's that?
You have to return as your own.
No. Guys, those are the best times of coding, to tell you the truth.
Attempt to insert row.
Okay, here, our next rule. We try to insert something in events. Let's see what I'm talking about. It gets frustrating here, but let's see what we're talking about together. So in my insert here, I need to insert, so first off, I need to insert the rows, which we are doing, but the order in which I insert it is affecting my table view update. So what's the error saying? Error is saying attempt to insert row 0 into section 0, but there are only 0 sections in the section 0 after the update. What does that even mean? What does that even mean, right? So here I have my events. I inserted a value at 0, right? And here I'm saying table view insert index path with automatic. So basically what I want to do here is insert my event at 0, which we're doing, and I want to go ahead and say create my index path, which I'm doing, and I want to say table view that insert rows, which I'm doing. What else am I not doing? The data source, right? Mr. Kelby saved us. Mr. Kelby says our data source has not been set. Many did not see that. But you're all the way in the back today. Okay, so Mr. Kelby says our data source hasn't been set. Everybody with me? Right? Our beautiful data source has not been set. So let's set it. Table view dot data source equal to self. How does the table view know to insert itself? It has 0 elements. It has 0 elements. We try to insert a new element. It's trying to update itself. It's like I'm trying to insert 0. I have nothing. What are you doing to me? By the way, guys, this one comes up a lot when you're doing insertion and deletion. It could be a headache. It's getting better, but be aware.
Alex, can I ask you a question?
Maybe.
My issue is that with my create event, it's not even clicking.
The button is not clicking?
Yeah, I mean, it's clicking, but like it's not. I'm not getting any errors. It's not really.
Oh, were you able to test our unwind segue earlier? Were you able to go back to the IB action?
Yeah, I mean, it's connected.
Put a breakpoint in your IB action. Make sure that's getting called. Okay, let's test our code again.
We have one question. In the extension for that data source, when we have number of rows in section, we return 0. That's not an issue.
That's an issue. That is an issue.
Scroll to that, thank you.
That's a huge issue. Kidding? That's a big issue. Number of rows. What's number of rows?
How many rows we have?
How many do we have?
It's as many as we make.
What is, instead of 0, what do we write here? Events.count, right?
The events is the array.
And what else are we doing in cell for row? In cell for row, according to our, let's go back to this guy. We have the event name and we have the date. For now, let's just do the event name, okay? We'll do the event name and we'll do the date later. So let's just do the event name. So on our cell for row, let's get the event that was selected. So events index path that row, and just set the cell text label. Trying to jump the gun here. And here we have event.name. We'll come back to the date later, because the date, we have the date formatter to deal with. We'll come back to the date later. Or we could simply, we'll come back to the date later. Did we make our subtitle, our cell subtitle? We changed it to subtitle? Okay, so for now, let's just cheat a little bit and do detailed text label dot text equal to event dot date dot description. It will just give us a description of the date. We'll come back to the formatting later. Everybody with me? Okay? So make sure you have return events.count, which we had 0. It would always return 0, even if we did have objects in there. And for your cell for row, update the text label and update the detailed text label. We should have enough information now to get our app running. Eric, is your cell for row good now? Does it replicate what we have? Okay, let me take this out of the way. Create event, study, code, return, click return. We have an event. Can we create more events? Let's go create event, shopping. Why am I so lazy? Did it work? Yes. Create return and quit event, and we have shopping. So it does work, right, as we intended. As we create a new event, it adds it at the top of the table view. I could move it all together. Luba, does your event get created? Julia? Andy? Amini? Keep hiding. You're trying to go to 6-1, huh? Lilia, how you doing? Did your events get created? Okay. Oscar?
Plus 000 is because of the description.
Yes.
And also, so I noticed that on it, like before, if I use my actual keyboard on the computer, it would usually work. But this time, when I use my keyboard and I press enter,
Use the simulator keyboard.
I know I did.
Yeah.
It worked when I did.
Make sure you use the simulator keyboard. How we doing? Did everybody create events successfully? What's that, Christian? Your name doesn't come up? Does your date come up? Make sure that did you update in your date picker? Your date picker, does it say sender? Oh, what am I doing? In your date picker, does it say sender.date? Does it say event.date equal to sender.date? In your date picker changed? In your text field should return. Do you have yes. And in your unwind segue in the schedule list, do you have the event getting set on the object? Over in the schedule list controller, right? Schedule list controller right here. Did you insert it into your events? Index path and table view, insert rows, index path. All right, so make sure you put a breakpoint there and see what's happening. Everybody else was able to create events, Tanya? Excellent.
Can you jump to your
Jump to where? What part? What part? Shania, question?
Alex, is your date here in year?
Yeah, because we did the description.
We only did description. We did not exactly. You see the date, right? It's 11/20,
Yeah, I see it.
but we haven't formatted it,
Yes.
right? Did you restart it? Xcode, try that. All right, can we continue? What's the crash? What's the crash? Is the crash we don't have? Did you do everything that we did?
Nah, I was lost trying to catch up.
Yeah. Where is it? That's a different crash, dude. This one is data source you have. Oh, finish this. Return events. Count. You're welcome, sir. Can we continue? Yes, we could. All right. The simplest things may look more difficult than it, but we get in there. We are getting there. So we're able to insert values into our table view, correct? So we did insert it. Next, let's do deleting. Deleting, where you swipe and you delete the item. Okay, everybody? Let's handle deletion. Okay, go to your schedule list controller. What do we have so far? We have a data source. We have a data source. Go to the bottom of your cell for row. Go to the bottom of your cell for row. Go to the bottom of your cell for row, and we'll work with deletion. So start typing in editing style, editing style. This is the function we're after. So start typing in editing style or type in commit. Maybe commit is better. So type in commit and press enter. This is one of the functions we need to implement from the data source to handle deletion. The method is called table view commit editing style for row. In that particular function, this is where we're going to handle deletion. So when the user swipes, actually we could actually run the code now, and you'll get the swipe action. Nothing is going to happen, but you'll get the swipe action. So let's go ahead and run it. Did everybody get the function commit style? One second. If I create an event, right? We should be able to get the action right now. It's not going to delete it as yet. We'll take care of that. But you get the swipe action. You get the swipe action. It doesn't delete it yet. We need to handle the deletion in that particular method. May, were you able to get the swipe action? Okay. Lilia, what's your crash exactly?
I don't know what the crash is. It disappeared. I'm trying to copy you. It's like
Let us just zip it out for people. If you have a crash, desktop, what app are we working on? Scheduler, compress this and slack it out. Who's sad? Antonio, you sad? Why are you sad? Computer, desktop, scheduler. Okay, Lily, I sent that out so you could uncompress it, and you'll be where we are. Okay, it's in Slack, 6.3. All right, let's continue on. Let's code. Okay, so let's see. Editing style. What is editing style? Editing style is, am I inserting into the table view? Am I deleting from the table view? Right? What am I currently doing? So the editing style here is actually an enum. Let's see. Editing style. Let's see. Editing style, editing style. You don't have to go to it. I'll go to it myself and talk about it. So here, this is the editing style here, right? Everybody? So we have editing style. What am I currently doing in the table view, right? Am I not doing anything? Am I deleting? Am I inserting, right? So those are the actions with the editing style method. Everybody with me? So in our particular case, we'll do either deletion or insertion. So for now, we're going to be handling deletion. All right. So let's go ahead and use a switch, our beautiful switch statement. So here I'll switch on editing style, which is an enum. So case insert, for example, I'll just print for now insertion or inserting. Case delete. Deleting. Default print. Okay, the action we're after is when the user deletes. Let's actually run the code and see that deleting gets called as we swipe our app. So create some event, return, create event, swipe, deleting gets called. Everybody saw deleting got called? So here, that's where we need to do the logic for the deleting. Like, what are we doing? Was everybody able to get the print delete coming up on the console? Not yet. I mean, why all the way in the back?
Where did that come from?
Editing style. We have editing style here.
No, I mean like when you added this now, was that like?
I just showed us. I command click to went to definition.
Oh.
Yeah. Benvenido, did you get deleting coming up? Yeah. All right, very good. Tanya? Typing it out. Cool. Almost there. What time did we say we're going to stop? In 20 minutes? We should be able to get delete done by then. And then tomorrow we'll finish with insert. Not insert, with reordering. Reordering will finish tomorrow. Did we all type out the switch statement? Tiffany? Did your deleting print statement get? Wow, you think I have that special eye? I believe in you. All right, cool. So what am I talking about tomorrow? Tomorrow we'll conclude with this editing action. If I want to remove, reorder. Yulia, if I want to reorder the cells, I'll do that tomorrow. We'll do that tomorrow together.
Okay, I have a question. So if
If
you want to sort, you would do the same function.
you want to sort by date, well, we're inserting already. We don't need insert. We're inserting already. We're inserting in the add new, we're inserting in here.
So what this case insert?
What's that?
Just with dating, or this function gives us some opportunity to add rows?
It gives you an opportunity to do extra code if you insert in a value. But we have no extra code to do.
Okay, so one last question. So I don't see why exactly this particularly chooses delete.
It knows that the style is deleted. Yes, 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 very good.
So could we have insertion?
It depends on what insert action we're doing. If it's like you add in something with the button and just insert it, yes, you can. But our insert was coming from a segue. And then we use our IB action segue to do the inserting part of it. Okay. Can we continue? Are we good? All right, so let's see. Let's delete. So how do we delete? We have events Mr. Brendan, you good? Okay, so let's delete. Let's delete. The user wants to delete a row. Let's go ahead and carry out the action. So here are my events. On my events, I say remove, right? Events array, I say remove. Remove at index. How do we get access to the index or this integer? How do we remove? How do we get access to that index we want to remove? Look at that in the back. In the back says indexpath.row. Do we agree in the front? That's valid. So indexpath.row. Remove item from array. Remove, not item. Remove event from events array. Great. Are we done? In the back. We also need to remove it from the table view. So let's go ahead and do that, because right now we have no remove from table view action here. We have no reload data, right? We have no reload data, so we have to remove it from the table view. So for that, I get access. I have my table view. I say delete rows. Similar with what we had earlier, we had insert rows. On table view, you have a method called delete rows. Delete rows at index path, right, with animation, right? Earlier, we had to get the index path. Here, we don't need to get the index path because we have the index path already. Everybody with me? Earlier, we needed to create our own index path because we were the ones that said where we want to insert it. But now we say we want to delete it, we just get the current index path. The row the person selected is the row we want to delete. And we have access to that index path. Again, it's an array. And we use our row animation. There's different types of row animations here. We have automatic, we have bottom, we have fade, left, middle, none, right, top, right? We'll just say automatic. And this is about it for that particular code. We'll run our app again. Have our app on screen, click on our add button, click on event. We love to code. Right? We click on return. We say we're going to code tonight at 8. What's that? No? Or that's just routine. We say we create event, coding. We create a next event. Right? We have potluck. Let's see if that comes up. We got potluck, right? When is that? The 27th? At 5? Yes?
All right, so I do have a question. So for the events, when you remove it, you're removing it from the array.
Yes, it's gone.
So, but when you remove it from the array, so you have to remove it from the array and the table view?
Yes, both data and UI has to be updated. The UI is a table view. The data is our events array. So here we create potluck event. Click on create. And here we have potluck and we have code. Everybody with me? So far so good? I feel like I don't want to delete any of those events. We create some random event. Greg, that's not you, by the way. And I want to go ahead and delete this. I swipe left. That's an app, right? I swipe and that event is gone. Everybody with me? Were we all able to delete our event? Okay? So we're able to create events, insert events. We're able to delete events. Okay? Yes?
Does saving a whole different thing because every time you run it?
I was waiting for that question. I was waiting for that question. Not even the person in the back asked it yet. She's probably napping. The question Chelsea asked, right? Chelsea asked why every time we run the app, the events are gone. That question, we answer it not tomorrow. It takes a bit longer. We'll answer that question in Unit 4. I'll answer the question, but we won't do it together. So the answer, I'll answer it, but I won't do it, right? The answer is we have to persist the data to the device. Persist means we have to save the data to the user's device.
I didn't ask that because I didn't know. Thank you.
We gotta look at you, Antonio.
Antonio, please don't fail me.
I'm telling you, that assessment could be different. Wow, many. Okay, so persistence in Unit 4. When we create an event, we have our array. We take our array, we save it to the user's device. So when they run the app again, they see the events. This is all what we do in Unit 4, all about persistent data to the user's device, right? So that's a good question. We'll actually bring that app again in Unit 4 with your answer, doing it together. Cool? Unit 3 is Unit 3, the entire of Unit 3 is about getting data from the internet, right? Like getting data from whatever API we have, populate a table view, do stuff. But in Unit 4, we're persisting data to the user's device. Each app has its own documents folder to save data. So whenever you want to delete an app, you get this notification from Apple saying, hey, you're about to delete your data. That's the data that we're going to be saving to the phone. Okay? So Chelsea's answer will be answered in code in Unit 4, where we talk about persistent data. Okay? And what that looks like. Accessing the documents directory for our schedule app, adding items in there, right? So when the user launches the app again, the data is there. Everybody with me? Cool? We could do something else, by the way. We could probably create like a factory that creates random events, right? We could create like a factory class for now that creates random events. For our use cases now, we could actually do this. So let's go to our event. Let's go to our event model, and let's create some sort of static function get test data. And this guy is going to return an array of events. Get test data returns an array of events, and here we want to have some array. We'll call it events. We'll return events. Let's create an array of event names. Code, unit assessment, iOS Soho. All right, so we have some event names. Let's go through the event names. So for event in event names, we have our events array. So here, let's create an event. So not an event, for item for now, create an event here. And event looks like this. So event, the date is the date currently. The name is the item just the item. It's just a name. So we should just call this name, or event name. Event name. And here you have event name. And we'll say events.append the event. No longer a var, it's a let constant here. Great. This gets us some events for our table view. It creates It uses the event names, it loops through it, and it creates the date. So the date will be different, even if the date is the same, but the time will be different. So that's just test data. Everybody with me? So test data for our table view. We just created some random test data for our table view. Okay? So Chelsea doesn't exactly do what you want to do, right? Which is saving the user's data, but at least our table view has some events as we start, right? That we could delete, we run it again, we have some events, same events, right? So this is just a simple type method that we call in our viewDidLoad. So in our viewDidLoad, we'll call our get test data and pass that events to our events variable. Everybody with me? So for people ahead here, just go to your viewDidLoad for your schedule list controller. Go to the viewDidLoad and simply say events equal to event.getTestData. And if you run your app again, you should have events in your table view.
You said, sorry,
You go to schedule list controller, you go to viewDidLoad, and in viewDidLoad, you simply say events equal to event.getTestData, run your app again, you should have events. Who's confirming? Is it working? Mr. Sering, this guy did it before I even said anything. Tomorrow you're gonna lecture, yes? This guy. Great, good job, good job. All right, are we done typing?
oh, that way we would already have the events on there.
Yes.
Add them in, and then we can still delete those that are there already.
Exactly. So let's go to our schedule list here. Go to viewDidLoad. In viewDidLoad, simply say events equal to event dot get test data. So this is in schedule list controller. In schedule list controller, basically we create some dummy data for our table view. Our table view starts off with some random events. So if we run our app again, we'll have a list that we could delete, right? We have a list that we could delete. We run the app again, we still have that list. Everybody with me? Cool. So we'll conclude lecture here. If I continue any further, we'll go past 5 o'clock, but I want us to work on our lab instead. And tomorrow we'll continue working with reordering rows. That's where we're going to conclude. Tomorrow we might take the first 45 minutes-ish to work on reordering the rows. Everybody with me? And it gives us a chance to review what we did, because we did a lot. So we'll do that tomorrow, and then after that it's basically review for the rest of the day until Facebook. So we'll stop here. Any questions? Cool. Thank you.